Hi, this is Caroline with Caroline's Cause Corner, and today I have a really amazing lady, Kerry David. Welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me, Caroline. Lovely to see you again.
You too. So Kerry's an amazing film producer, director, writer, and has a new movie out that takes on a subject that has never been done before. And we've all heard about there's content out there about poaching in Africa, but it never comes from the perspective of the women rangers that are out there leading the charge. And so this is what Kerry's film is all about. And there will be a preview of this film coming up that we'll talk about in a little bit. But Kerry, why don't you go ahead and talk about what inspired you to do this film?
Yes, thank you, Caroline. I will. So let's see, to condense it, I was invited to a fundraiser in downtown Los Angeles, and it was a beautiful presentation that was put on by a drone company who had captured all this footage from their drones. And unfortunately, the footage that they were capturing was of the total devastation that poaching has left on the wildlife in Africa. So I came away from that event truly traumatized. It was one of those moments in your life where you think, I can no longer look away from this. Like, I now know this is happening, and I'm an animal advocate. If I truly cared, I had to do something. I'm no wildlife specialist, so I was floundering. What is it that I can bring to this conversation? But I'm a filmmaker. And so I thought, well, you know what I can do is I can tell their stories. But looking around, Nat Geo does amazing work in this space. I had to find my niche, like what would make it unique, what would make it interesting. And I went on a research tour in South Africa right before I launched my nonprofit, which was Over and Above Africa. And I met the most extraordinary men who were doing, incredible work, needed work, making headway, but I didn't see any women. And then I thought, well, they got to be there. And I'm just curious on a personal level to meet them. I hadn't thought about a film at that point. And I just asked people, can you introduce me to somebody who's working in this space who is a woman and maybe at a unique perspective? And so I started to meet women one by one. And then those women were introducing me to their peers. And I started to realize just how huge that, the women were in this space, but that were not being documented. So I had the idea of, I could tell this story through the female lens. I'm a female coming at it. Mm-hmm. And instead of saying, this is what's happening for them, let them tell me what's happening. I could learn it. My audience could learn it with me, and we'll just go on an adventure and see where it takes us. So had no idea at that point how my film could line up with the COVID-19 fiasco, drama, catastrophe, call it what you will. But most people don't even know what a pangolin is. And in my film, we document women who are taking care of pangolins, and we show you how a pangolin ends up in a wet market in Asia. So that's kind of in a nutshell about the film and how I started doing it.
So the film is called Breaking Their Silence, Women of the Frontlines, right?
Women on the front line of the poaching war.
Frontline of the poaching war. And what have you learned from, we'll get back to the pangolin and the wet market, but I'm curious. I mean, the women are behind the scenes, but they're in the front lines, right? So
yes.
Tell me how they felt about you coming in and doing a documentary on them. Were they afraid? Was it something that they were excited about?
Great question. There's such a environment of fear in that world, because you've got the mafia, which are the syndicates that pay for the poaching to take place. And so the women are threatened daily, and they're serious threats. Many have been harmed horribly. So there was certainly hesitation. Some women just refused to go on camera. I made a lot of calls. I reached out to a lot of women, and they just said no, and they explained why. It's just too dangerous and it would affect the work they're doing. I had 2 women lined up to film in China, and before we were headed out to go film them, they changed their minds at the last minute, because they thought, I guess they felt, they felt scared the government would shut them down at the best and jail them at the worst. So I moved and went to Vietnam, where I interviewed 2 extraordinary women who are under the same regime. It's a communist country. They don't have freedom of speech. So they were very, very welcoming once I got there. I found at the beginning there was a hesitancy is too light, but a resistance is too strong for us being there. But there was something in the middle that was, who are you? What are you doing? And how do we know you're going to convey what we do in the right way that doesn't further endanger us and that helps us? So I found the first few, days, weeks of filming that I had to address that. But once I got into each interview, every woman just completely opened up and became vulnerable. And that was how I wanted to tell the film. I wanted to tell the film that through the emotional toll that it's taking on the people on the front line. I did not want to make a film where animals are thrashing around in agony, because I can't watch those films. So why would I put that out there? It's not helpful. I made a film for the lay people who, like me, loved animals, but didn't know what was happening, right? Which, before I went to that fundraiser, I didn't either. So there was, they are reserved. They have to be. They're very careful with what goes out there. Like on 100% of the people that we met, we were not given addresses. We were just given coordinates. So we would drive to these coordinates. Yeah, it was really, cloak and dagger stuff.
Yeah.
I didn't fully understand at the beginning. I did later on. So we were given coordinates, and we would show up, and then we would wait for somebody, and then we would follow them through these incredible, countryside, for want of a better word. And it would be sometimes 15 miles before we got to where they were, because that is how endangered their wildlife is that they're saving, and they don't want poachers to know where they are.
How many countries were you shooting in?
We shot in Rwanda and in Kenya and in the US. We shot here. We shot in all over South Africa, Vietnam. Yeah, I think that's
And poaching is going on in every country.
Yeah, it is where the big five are. I mean, it's worse in some countries. It's better in others. Can we talk about sort of what's happening with us right now with the virus? And
absolutely, yes. How does that all it has everything to do with it. So that's, I mean, a lot of people have blamed the wet market for the whole pandemic. What is your point of view, and what did you find and see?
Yeah, so my point of view is I'm learning daily. I'm reading everything that I can about it, because if it was the pangolin, it just shows you how much human interaction is having. And the reason that we're all quarantined is because we've interfered with wildlife that we should never have interfered with. As I look back through the similarities with MERS and with SARS, here we are with COVID again. If it's this explosion of human population that we are taking up every square inch of this planet, and the animals and the wildlife have nowhere to go, what are we supposed, what are they supposed to do if they don't have anywhere to go? So we're going to come into contact with them, and we're going to get these viruses. So I think what we're calling the great pause, whatever you want to call this right now, where we're all quarantined, is a wonderful time for people to sit back and really understand our connection to wildlife and to this planet, and how we need them and they need us. And we have to respect and give them their space, so that we're not interacting with them and we're not contacting these diseases. I believe like the HIV virus came from, was it bats in Africa also way back when? We should not be interacting with them. We've got to find a better way to work with them, with communities. And I don't know the answer to what it is, but I know we should all have attention on it right
now. It's unbelievable that you were there. I mean, the timing of it is interesting. So that actually weaves into the reason that we're having this interview at this exact moment, is that you are going to be having a preview of your documentary on May 9th, correct? And why don't you tell us all about that?
Certainly. So we've been winning festivals across America and Europe, and winning hearts. We did a TEDx talk about the making of the film. There's been so much interest in the film. So we were just starting the distribution process when this happened, when we all got struck down by quarantine. And like you said, I couldn't have predicted the timeliness of our film and the virus. And I said to our investors, we can't sit on this film because it contextualizes why in part why we are here and what we can do about it. So I think it would make people feel more understanding of our part in it, and how we can prevent future outbreaks if we were to share the film, not release it, but give like 2 sneak peek screenings of the film. And their only proviso, because they are the investors, is that we have to charge for it, which I fully understood. And so we're doing this May the 9th and May the 14th. It's on the Vimeo on demand platform. So if anyone has a pen out there, it's vimeo.com/on-demand/breaking their silence. It's May the 9th at 4 p.m. Pacific, 7 p.m. Eastern, but it's a global access. So if you're able to access that platform, you can watch the film. So if you're in Australia, New Zealand, all those places, then it's going to be May 10th at like 9 a.m. Just check the time difference. But you'll have a 24-hour window to watch it. So you don't have to watch it at 4 p.m.
Okay, perfect. And I will have all of that information in the notes section of this
Yeah.
interview. I want to talk about another thing that I know that you've sort of, in my mind, created, and that is the ability for everyone to be a philanthropist. And let's talk about how people can donate to your work, and also just the whole issue of micro donations. Well, you explain it.
Yeah. Absolutely. Thank you. Yeah. So I started a nonprofit with my friend Jennifer Pfister, and it's called overandaboveafrica.com. And we found a space in the market, which was, that philanthropy had this very elitist feeling to it, So we took the hashtag affordable philanthropy, and we started this website. We did a whole lot of research about nonprofits and the lack of transparency, which was shocking to us. We didn't know anything about that. So as a filmmaker, we knew immediately how we could make our platform unique, which was that we raise money, but we do it in microfunding. So at the very bottom of our access, it's $5 a month, which is like what, a latte, So if you want to give to wildlife and forego a latte, you're part of our group. And the only requirement we have of the people that we give our money to, and we vet those organizations and people, we only give it to people that we know are doing work that's effective, is that we ask them to film the money being spent, and then they give us the footage, and then we put that into a little mini documentary. And then when it's completed, which could be anywhere from a month to 6 months depending on the size of the project, and then we send that out to our donors, so they feel good twice. They feel good when they give us their money once a month, and then they feel great when they see how their money is spent. And that was how we kept it fully transparent, and so right out the gate, it just took off. There was a need for it. I think people, they want to give. Sometimes it's not, especially now when it's very difficult, everybody's watching every penny, but we do it at such a low level that you can feel really good about it and know your money is helping.
Well, that's the thing, is that you are actually giving everyone an opportunity to participate. And then for people that really have a hard time with giving money because they are not sure of where their dollars are going and that they're being spent in the right place, you solve that problem by creating a documentary of your $5 went to getting boots for these rangers, in the poaching crisis.
That was our very first raise. We went out with the anti-poaching unit, and just seeing what they needed from a very fundamental perspective. They didn't have camels for the water when they were out there for 17 kilometers a day. They hike over the roughest terrain, and I know because they took us out with them, and all we managed was like 7 or 8 kilometers. We were exhausted by the end of the day. But you were looking at their boots; they were like flapping, and they didn't have boot straps. So our first raise was boots for rangers. And again, what we do is we put them all up on the website so our donors can go and revisit them. And it kind of has a double-edged benefit for us, because while our donors feel and our members feel so great about saying to their friends and families, look, we did this, we contributed, it's putting the crisis in front of their friends and families to understand, oh, this needs to be done. So it's super beneficial, and it's easy. We don't make it difficult at all. It's just, people can give freely, or they can be a member. There's lots of ways to participate if you really want to help.
Well, as I said, all of that information is going to be in the notes section of this video. So wrapping up, Kerry, so we've been talking to Kerry David, who is a documentary filmmaker, an amazing person, and really has taken the lead at helping to expose what's going on in the poaching world that is still very alive and well, unfortunately. No matter how much people have really tried to curb it, it's almost like it's gotten even more prevalent. And I haven't watched that show on the Tiger King, but that has to make you
sick to my stomach. Everybody misses the point. Yeah, they're all fixated on the characters, and they don't realize how abused those cats are. They're so abused, and it's just shocking that it took off the way it did.
Well, it's sensational TV at its finest, and it's too bad. Anyway, so Kerry, thank you so much for being on Caroline's Cause Corner. Please repeat the time and day and where people can see the movie.
So you can see Breaking Their Silence, Women on the Frontline of the Poaching War, May the 9th and May the 14th on the vimeo.com on-demand platform. For all information, go to breakingtheirsilence.com, and you can donate to overandaboveafrica.com if you're interested in helping to prevent the extinction of our endangered wildlife.
Fantastic. Keep it up, Kerry. You're the best. And and I will definitely be tuning in on May 9th to check it out.
Thank you,
And also do a link for the trailer on in the notes section.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, Kerry. And thank you for watching. This is Caroline with Caroline's Cause Corner. Make it a giving day.